there. I'm Yolanda, and
I'm Shaman.
This is Shaman Harper. We are the co-founders of Harper Therapy in Lutz, Florida, in the Tampa Bay area. And we have been sharing some tips to help with communication, help filter the noise in communication. So we had a ground rules video.
Which didn't go so well.
It did. It went great. It went great. But one of the reasons that we need these tips is that now more than ever in our society's history, we're expecting more out of our romantic relationships.
Right. We actually expect relationships.
Right. Instead of a quid pro quo kind of functional.
Like a functional thing, yeah.
Right, right. So instead of just like marrying to have someone to provide, to create a family, right? Now we're expecting and we are wanting deeper connection, deeper intimacy.
Which I think is awesome.
Right? I expect my partner to be my best friend, my confidant, my supporter, my lover, all of those things. It's a lot to ask for a relationship, especially considering the fact that we're not given really tools.
Right, right. And it's...
for how to do that.
Maybe it was a little easier when it was functional. I don't know.
Well, it was just different, right?
Right.
So, we want to follow up the last video, which we will link to this one, where we laid down the ground rules for filtering out the noise in your relationship communication, and start the conversation about those steps to take.
Right. How do you do that?
Yeah. So, go ahead.
Well, I think the first thing is you have to ask your partner if they're willing to listen.
Yeah. Hey, is now a good time? Can we have a conversation?
Because if they're not going to engage, then you are both wasting your time.
Well, and sometimes there's just other things going on, right? There's too much commotion for me. If there's a lot of stimulation in the environment, it's hard to focus, you know? If
and
there's
nothing,
TV on or kids screaming.
And we have to not be offended if it's not like a good time, right? Because we want to be. We want to be like,
there.
Well, they don't want to talk to me.
Right.
You know, and but we have to have the grace to say, okay, now's not a great time for my partner.
So
now's not a great time for you. When is a good time?
Yeah. When can we have a conversation?
Right.
The next step is to remember that the motivation is love. You are asking for this conversation because you love your partner. This is not a conversation to tell your partner what a scumbag they are.
Right. You mean this isn't the moment where I tee off on my partner?
Right. Like, if that's your intention behind the conversation, then take a step back and go for a walk or do something else.
Yeah, you've already kind of blown it.
You're just asking for this to be a catastrophe, right?
Right.
So the reason that we are requesting a conversation, requesting our partner's attention, is because we love them and we want a deeper connection. We want to understand them better.
Right.
And we want them to understand us better. We want to see and be seen.
And this isn't like really our information, right? This is, I think we forgot to give that.
Yeah, so this is from Terry Reel's work. Terry Reel is a marriage therapist in the field, but just like any other resource that we draw from, Terry has pulled this from a bunch of different resources. I was going to say, I don't think this was his necessarily either, but so it's just good, solid information on the round, and not only for romantic relationship. These are good tips for other relationships too, with your kids, with friends, with parents.
Right.
So
this is kind of like communication. 101.
Yeah. Because our main goal as humans is connection and relationships.
Right. So step number 3 was feedback.
Yeah.
You know, what you saw, what you heard.
Right. So this is where we engage in a feedback wheel, what Terry calls a feedback wheel. So we want to, again, from our first video, where we said we want to just really talk about one isolated event.
Right. Yeah. So, otherwise, you're just going to make a big mess.
Otherwise, you kitchen sink it, right? Everything in the kitchen sink that comes into the conversation, that's not helpful.
Right.
So take one event and describe what you saw and what you heard, like a reporter, or from the vantage point of if there was a camera recording it, what would that look like?
Just the facts, ma'am. Just the facts.
Just the facts.
Right.
After you share that with your partner, you share the story that you made up about it.
Right, with your partner, right?
Right.
Like, okay, I'm feeling this way because I'm telling myself these things.
So talk about the narrative. So we always, as humans in our society today, we put a story and a narrative around everything. That's what complicates things so much. So after you've given the facts, tell the story that you made up about that. So if I said, you know, tonight you came home and you put your things down and you went into the room and you were in there for a good half an hour before you said hello.
Right.
The story that I made up about that was that you were upset with me, I had done something wrong, or that you didn't care about me. See how this goes?
Yeah. I mean, I've told all myself these things, that, you know, all these negative things about that, you know, the facts where you just walked in and went to the bedroom.
And the fact is that story that we make up is not an accurate story, right? When we fact check that story.
Right. And what's cool about that is if you share it, you kind of diffuse what because then the other person's like, oh, wow.
Gives your partner a chance to course correct.
I didn't even know you were going there. You know, I didn't know that was, you know, I just had a rough day and thought I needed a minute to chill out.
So after you describe the event that happened in the story that you have told yourself about it, then the next step is to share your feelings about it. Right?
Sorry. I feel like. I was like, what are you talking about?
So sharing the feelings about it is I felt lonely. I felt hurt. I felt abandoned.
But like real.
Right. So this is where, in our last video, like I said, we'll link to it. We said that this can get tricky because of the narrative that we wrap around it. And usually when we say the words I feel, it's connected with the narrative and not an actual emotion. Right. So I feel an emotion.
Because I'm telling myself.
Because of the story that I'm telling myself about this event. Right?
Sounds crazy, but yeah, that's how we do it.
So yeah, that's where it gets complicated and where we could use some support for improving our communication. So as elementary as this might sound, oftentimes just using one of those old-fashioned feeling wheels that we can do a quick Google search about and kind of look at and draw from.
Like joy or...
Mad, sad, glad.
Sad, glad, right.
Lonely,
I guess
afraid.
Joy is probably not the one we're usually talking about.
Joy is not the typical go-to when we're having these conversations. No.
It's not the negative connotation.
Usually anger is the go-to, but then if we can really get honest with ourselves, there's usually something below that anger, and that usually is hurt or fear or
past experience. You know,
but there's an emotion. But there's an emotion from that past experience.
Right. Well, but that leads to
the emotion.
Right.
And then the next step.
We have to let go of the outcome.
No, the next step is that you would to ask for what you would like. So when I share the event, this is what happened when you came home from work.
Right.
This is the story that I told myself about it. This is the emotion that I felt. This is my ask. And the more clear that we can be in the behavior that we're asking for that would be helpful, the better, right? So my ask might be, hey, I get that you had a really hard day. I'm going to ask that when that happens, that you just kind of give me a nod or let me know, give me a signal or something, so I know to give you the space that you need, right?
Yeah, been a crazy one, need a few minutes.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
So the more specific that we can be, right, that, wow, when you come in and you give me this cue, then I'm going to give you 30 minutes before. Right.
And I mean, the whole thing all of this does is diffuses ramping up you know, that story you tell yourself, that narrative that's taken over. That
by the time you've come out of the bedroom, I'm
you're
taking
fuming,
your head off.
And I'm just like, I just got home.
It was already a bad enough day. Right. And then the final step.
Let go of the outcome.
Yeah. Sorry. So the letting go of the outcome is challenging, right? Because that's the whole reason that we're putting all the effort into doing this.
Right, but you can't control the outcome.
Right.
So, I mean, you can only control what you see. Well, I mean, you can't really control it, but you can control the facts. Like, you know what you saw.
And when you have these conversations, I can't control what your response to the conversation is, right? I can only know that in my integrity, right?
I did my part.
I took these steps.
Right.
So, pretty involved, pretty intense. If you are like, oh, my brain is like, there's smoke coming out of my ears because this is so much.
It's me most days.
You're not alone. This is why we help couples with deepening their ability to kind of filter out all of the noise so that they can get to these connecting conversations, right?
Because at the end of the day, you're trying to build intimacy, right?
Right. That's what it's all about.
And you're trying to go deeper, and you're trying to connect more. And if you're really not communicating, you'll never get there.
Right. So if you would like some support in communicating with your partner using these steps and some other tools that we have that we share, give us a call, 813-434-3639. We can book a free consultation so that you can connect with our therapist, find out more about our resources, and make sure that we're a good fit for you.
Right.
All right, guys, thanks so much. Let us know if you have any questions.